Greetings! It's been an extraordinary couple of weeks. Cameron's nervous, Alistair Darling's a wet puddle on the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery floor, and Jim Murphy's a bit of a chicken. The No campaign have been tripping over themselves trying to get their story straight. First we saw Alistair Darling contradicting the biggest lie put forth by the Westminster Defence League, that Scotland would not be allowed to use the pound if we vote yes.
Of course we can use the pound.
Of course, they started backtracking as quickly as they could, saying they'd never claimed we couldn't use the pound. Labour's Richard Wilson on Radio Scotland.
In the case of the pound, it has always been clear to anyone, that you can use the pound.
Keith Brown's point is that the Unionist parties rather blurred that distinction, to put the least. I think that's the point.
If it was, it wasn't intentional. And I'm sorry.
Of course, this doesn't quite jive with most of the literature they've been putting through the door. Here's the letter they sent back in April. Now, this is meant to be an ordinary mum talking, so they can happily say that this is not what BT themselves are saying. But they still printed it and sent it out to voters all across Scotland, along with a begging letter for money. Now, how about this leaflet, which says on page 5, staying within the UK is the only way to keep the pound we have now. Fairly clear-cut statement that if we vote yes, then we lose the pound. Incidentally, the mum on page 2 of this booklet of bumf is voting yes. Actress Tracy Jenkins for Glasgow didn't know she was going to be doing it, making me wonder if any of the others are also yes voters. Maybe we can poach them. Then there was this Lib Dems pamphlet, which was strange absence of Nick Clegg, but clearly states leaving the UK means losing the pound. The Labour Scottish referendum special is more careful, sticking with the keeping the pound statement, because keep implies ownership, so voting yes means you'll no longer own the pound, which itself is odd since they now say that the pound is neither an asset nor a liability. It's always confused me why they insist on talking about the strength and security of the UK pound when the fact of the matter is a currency is only worth the value of the currencies that use it. The City of London could crash tomorrow and the pound wouldn't be worth dick. Wings Over Scotland published a raft of literature for BT that all says if we walk away from the UK, we walk away from the pound. So any claim that they didn't try to hoodwink the people of Scotland is crap. Pensions is another one. They can't seem to make their minds up whether pensions are supported by 60 million people or 31 million taxpayers. Dougie Alexander thinks it's 64 million and was only too happy to tell a 70-year-old pensioner on a morning call special that her pension would be at risk in a separate Scotland, even though Pension Secretary Steve Webb confirmed that all pensioners will continue to get the pension they've been contributing towards all their working lives and at the current rate. Louise White was especially good at making the point several times during the show that
you might not agree with the answers, but we hope that the responses will also be genuine and honest.
Shamey's answers were neither. Same as the Labour newsletter. If we leave the UK, there are no guarantees that we can maintain our current level of pension benefits for the elderly. So a flat out lie then. Then there's this business of Scotland being a subsidy junkie. This is very subtly put into the reasons to stay in the UK booklet of crap. Scotland benefits from public spending that is around 10% higher than the UK average. And then in the miniature version, taxpayers across the UK help to fund the vital public services blah de blah de blah. Here's an extract from an interview between Jim Knockety and the campaigner for an English-only parliament, Eddie Bowen, on Good Morning Scotland.
England actually is the country that raises the taxes for Britain. It's very clear that the money comes from insurance. That's not rubbish at all, Jim.
Explosive stuff. Just in case you didn't quite catch that, here's Jim spelling it out clearly.
Scotland in general in recent years has taken out of the budget less than it's put in.
This was also pointed out very clearly by Andy Martin on the Today programme.
Scotland is a net contributor to the Westminster pot.
Exactly. In 2011-12, we raised £11,000 per person in Scotland. That works out to 55 billion quid. So why do the people of England believe we are so heavily subsidised? For the same reason the vast majority of the people of England are not aware that the NHS in England has been privatised. And why they believe that the huge debt pile was all the fault of the poor. It's the media. The media have done a bang-up job down there and making it look like we take more than we give. We all remember Katie Hopkins on The Right Stuff telling people we raise just $27 billion a year in tax, but spend $40 billion in total. Subsidised by $13 billion a year when they only pay for somebody's spare bedroom. Aye, right. According to figures for 2011-12, Holyrood got less than $27 billion for the block grant. The rest of the money is spent on our behalf on crap like Trident, 2 aircraftless carriers, interest on debt that we took up bailing out the greedy bankers, the illegal war in Iraq, 13 years of war in Afghanistan, etc, etc. I don't know where she got her numbers from, but they're utter pish. But thanks to their propaganda, if Scotland votes no, we are looking at a big cut to our budget. It'll be demanded that spending levels in Scotland are brought in line with the rest of the UK. And Westminster will be happy to oblige so that they can cut their deficit by another $7 billion a year. And if Scotland wants to keep our public services funded at current levels, we'll have to increase our taxes through those more powers guaranteed. We'll end up paying even more than we are now just to keep what little we have. Unless you've been paying close attention to the debate over the last 2 years, you won't have noticed it. But the Westminster Defence League keep changing their position on just about everything. Their arguments are completely scrambled. But when it's boiled down to just 7 minutes, you see they are all over the place to the point that they can't remember what lies they've told from one day to the next. But we have been paying attention. And we know they've been lying to the people of Scotland. Now it's up to you to spread the word.
McVie encourages you to not rely solely on Westminster propaganda when deciding on the future of Scotland. Vote responsibly.